Well, from the intro of this video, I'm sure you can take a 50-50 guess on what we're covering. Parvos Granum or the Sisters of Parvos. And well, if you read the title, and I'd like to assume you did if you're watching this video, you'd be right with picking the Sisters of Parvos option. Today, I plan to cover everything Sisters of Parvos related, and really want to try to get into the lore around them, and their function inside of the Corpus society. I'll be honest though, there isn't a whole lot we know about this elite group of women. However, there is absolutely more here than there is for the Kuva Licks, which is something. The most important thing to get to first when talking about the Sisters of Parvos is why they were created and who they were created by. The Sisters of Parvos are an elite group of Corpus dedicated to serving the historic leader of the Corpus, Parvos Granum. His reasoning for picking only women is interesting, and is what we'll talk about right now. Parvos Granum grew up pretty poor, with both his father and brother being farmers. Parvos admired his brother for his strength and fortitude, but completely despised his lack of ambition. He would often approach his brother with various different schemes that would make use of his brawn and power, but his brother would always shoot him down, because he was an honest man who was happy working the fields and had no place in his mind for any sort of scheming. And there's nothing wrong with an honest day's work, by the way. Farming is very important, guys. However, this lack of scheming angered Parvos, because he knew that the Orkin were taking advantage of him and his family and keeping them as a lower caste in society. He didn't understand why his brother, who was strong enough to make a difference, was so willing to be used and abused by the corrupt Orkin in power. This led to Parvos fantasizing about having a sister, someone who he could scheme with and devise plans to rise up in power. Obviously, a different brother could have served this role as well, but because he had a brother who didn't serve this role, he just imagined what would be the opposite of his brother in reality, which would be a scheming sister.
Was a witless man, happy as a hog, face down in the trough. No thought of the farmer's axe. He was a brute above my asperous constitution, yet he had not the will nor the guile to let me guide that brawn. So, in my youth, I often imagined I had another sibling, a specter of sorts, a sister. And in my mind, she and I, oh, how we would conspire. Great schemes, risk trades, rapacious plots. And should I ever find myself back at the trough, penniless, betrayed, rich only in enemies, she'd be at my side, axe in hand.
That's the reason that Parvos allows only women into his most elite group, and why he so carefully chooses them. Because they are in essence the sisters that he always dreamed he had as a child. However, dreaming of having sisters didn't automatically create sisters for Parvos. This story only tells us about where the idea for having sisters came from. While Parvos has had it in his head to get a sister for quite a long time, his chance to get himself one finally came when the Corpus commander, Vala Glorious, got blasted into the Granum Void by Timstari during the Call of Timstari quest. As we know, Parvos Granum was banished into the Void at this point, so imagine his surprise when the sister he always dreamed of suddenly appeared in front of him. After waking up, Vala is helped up by Parvos and then put in charge of the new group, the Sisters of Parvos. Now that we've talked about how and why the Sisters were created, we need to actually talk about what they do and how they do it. Like many members of the Corpus Board, their existence isn't completely based around profit, and is more based around following Parvos to like extreme religious extent, treating him more like a godlike figure than a brother like he originally envisioned. Because of this extreme loyalty to Parvos, because sisters are selected based on loyalty, they actually aren't nearly as business-minded as most of the Corpus. And while there is a personality option for a business-minded sister, the vast majority are not actually business-minded. This means that the Sisters of Parvos serve more as enforcers than anything else when it comes to their place within the Corpus. In fact, I'd argue they're more similar to generals than anything else, with most of their objectives from Parvos being combat related. And the fact they're given a full control over their own personal fleet is a sign of this. On top of controlling an entire fleet of their own, they also gain immediate authority over all local Corpus leaders when traveling throughout the solar system, and even have permission to tax Corpus resource production in order to better supply their own private fleet. The Sisters of Parvos are given an extreme amount of power within the Corpus machine, and with how the Sisters are selected, it makes sense why they're so deeply trusted. Potential candidates are picked out from particularly loyal, hardworking, and powerful female Corpus, and then these candidates are sent on certain death missions, usually to combat a Tenno where they will almost certainly be slain. The candidates are always picked by the head of the Sisters of Parvos, Vala Glorious. While it's not clear how, Parvos may revive these loyal soldiers willing to lay their lives to do battle with the Corpus's enemies. There's incredibly little detail on how these soldiers are actually revived. It could be something that Parvos gained from the Granum Void, or possibly even Kuva blood. I'm honestly not entirely sure myself, and I couldn't really find anything concrete when looking into this matter. The best info I could find came from the Orkin Archive, where there was a section saying this: it may somehow be related to his mastery of the Spectre particle, or some other technological marvel that he has carried with him since the days of the old Orkin. Some sisters make reference to a blue fire responsible for the immortality. Whatever the process, the candidate becomes a full Sister of Parvos, gifted the most advanced tech Parvos can spare, is immortal, and is wielding the power of the very Warframe that created it, referred to as the progenitor. In case you're unaware on what Spectre particles are, they're the dudes that float around in the Granum Void, who you can shoot and destroy, but can't actually finish, since their particles like recombine and they recreate the being that you just shot and killed. You see them pretty much every single time you go into the Granum Void. Much like Kuvalix, this immortality can be stripped by using your Queen mods, implying to me at least that their immortality is somehow related to Kuvalix's immortality, because I mean they both die the same exact way. To really end this section, since the reintroduction of Parvos into the Origin system, it would appear that his Sisters of Parvos' primary objectives are eliminating the Tenno threat, with nearly every single sister we interact with either targeting Tenno or Warframes such as Stalker and Jade, or well, possible candidates for sisters at least are targeting like Jade. Vala Glorious is by far the most important sister in the organization, and while we honestly don't know a ton about her, besides for the Call of Tempestari quest, we have literally zero information about her. We know she currently leads the Sisters of Parvos, and we know she's extremely loyal to Parvos himself. What we do know about her is some of her history, and it's that her entire crew was killed by the Tempestari before we ever even meet her or the Tempestari. And she had a horrific few days floating around in space along with all of her dead team members, which probably caused her to get, have a little bit of mental issues going on. Like if I was floating around in space and everyone I loved and cared about was dead around me, and I was looking at them while I floated around for like days, I would probably go a little bit insane. Like, I'm gonna be honest with you. I mean, she doesn't seem that insane when you talk to her, but I don't know how you don't have mental problems floating around in space around your dead homies. Like, I don't know how you don't develop mental problems. So props to her for being able to hide those problems, and if she needs therapy, I'm right here. I'll be a great therapist. I don't know why I got so off topic in this section of the video where now I'm talking about therapy. Let's move on to the conclusion of this video now. My bad. Unfortunately, like I said at the beginning of this video, there really isn't a ton of information on the Sisters of Parvos. However, there's certainly more lore given for them than there was for the Kuvalix, so there's that at least. One of the important things I do want to mention though before ending this video is how Parvos honestly doesn't really care for his sisters as much as you would think for someone who would call all these people his sisters. After losing to the Tenno, or failing to become a sister as a candidate, Parvos kind of treats them like they're trash, like they're unimportant, like they're worthless, like they suck, like they're failures. There isn't really a whole lot of respect involved. I guess that makes sense, because the sisters don't view Parvos as a brother either. They view him as a god, as many of the Corpus view him. There is an insane power dynamic here that would never exist between two actual siblings. Also, something I didn't really talk about throughout this entire video is that the sisters have dogs. I mean, I'm not sure how important that is, or if there's any lore reason why, but they do have super awesome robot dogs. So, I mean, that is pretty cool. Also, you have a chance to get one of these robot dogs as a reward for killing the sister. So that instantly makes killing sisters more like fulfilling and like gives you more rewards and better rewards than the ones you get for killing licks, because you literally just get more and better rewards. They should honestly start giving Kuba licks Kubros in my opinion. Anyway, everybody, that's all I got for this one. I hope you all enjoyed. Like and subscribe if you did. And yes, I know I didn't mention how weird Parvos is for only recruiting extremely tall and dominant women to his most advanced force. That's something I don't want to get into and purposely left out, because that's some freaky shit, and that is just like too much to get into the realm of like guessing and not being for sure. Obviously, you can kind of interpret why he does that as a few different reasons besides just his childhood story, but I don't want to get into that freak shit. Anyway, shout out to my amazing members, Jay, Tier, Silent King, and Panagoidus, who really go the extra mile to support this channel. Thank you guys so much. I love you guys. Also, stay blessed out there to everyone. Stay happy, healthy, and safe, and I hope to see you all in the next video.